Where do we leave off? Elsa's feet quickened as she followed the creatures that had sprung from her magic. She wanted to memorize what they looked like. She also wanted to follow them. She wanted to know where they were going. The deeper she went into the forest of ice, the louder and more urgent the voice got. Elsa knew something was about to happen, but she had gone as far as she could. The deep waters of the fjord stood before her and kept her from reaching the voice. Elsa refocused her magic and created a wedge of ice on which she could move out over the fjord. She continued until something told her she had gone far enough. As the voice began to fade, Elsa reached out for it, trying to bring it back. She stood looking up at the sky, her arms at her sides, and released all her energy into the air. This caused a shock wave to blast across the fjord and turn the air's moisture into ice crystals. The crystals spread out as far as she could see, hovering in place like frozen raindrops. She couldn't hold back a smile when she realized the ice crystals were the result of her magical power. Elsa noticed something special about the crystals. Each one was etched with a symbol she recognized. The symbols represented the spirit of nature: air, fire, water, and earth. Without warning, a flash of light exploded into the sky from the north. Elsa knew the brilliance was too widespread to have been lightning, and there had been no accompanying thunder. She wondered if the light was a response to her blast of power. As the light in the north faded, the ice crystals cascaded from the sky, falling in waves like dominoes. And as they dropped to the ground, Arendelle transformed. Water stopped flowing in the fountains. Animal shrouds dried up. And the kingdom went dark. As the fire vanished from all the lanterns, the wind whipped angrily through windows and around corners, and the ground rippled like the sea. Those two things combined pushed everyone out of their homes, out of the kingdom, and up to the safety and stability of the cliffs. Kristoff's voice brought Elsa's attention back to the present. They had reached the farm. The wagon in the back behind the house, Kristoff said. Farmer Anders said we could also borrow any supplies we need from the barn. Why don't you two look in there while we go get the wagon ready? The girls nodded. Oh, and see if you can find some carrots. Then he led Sven with Olaf, still riding on his antlers, toward the back of the farm. Anna and Elsa entered the barn, looked around. Anna's eyes landed on a big old satchel hanging on a nearby hook. "Ooh, perfect," she said, picking it up. She immediately placed a couple of carrots inside. As the girls collected a few more items they thought they would need, Anna kept a close eye on Elsa. As much as she trusted and believed in her sister, Anna was worried. The wise old troll, Grandpappy, had given Anna a secret warning after she and the others had helped advocate Arendelle, and she couldn't stop thinking about it. After the chaos of the village, Elsa had told Anna and Kristoff about the voice that had been calling to her. Then she asked if she could borrow a wagon so she could travel to the enchanted forest. Anna and Kristoff had refused to let Elsa go on the trip alone. If she was determined to go, then they were going with her. Also, they wanted to know more about the voice. Before Elsa had time to get into more of the details, Grandpappy and the mountain trolls had rolled their round, rock-like bodies through the pass, popping open as they neared the group. Patty had told them that he knew the spirits were awake. He could feel it. He could also feel that they were angry. Reaching up, he waved his hand around, stirring the blues and greens of the northern lights, making them brighter as he searched for answers. But it was all very mysterious, even to the wise old troll. Much about the past is not what it seems, he had said. A dark secret is buried, too deep for me. A wrong demands solution. Without it, I see no future. Then he had looked to Elsa urgently. When one can see no future, all one can do is the next right thing. Elsa had insisted that she knew the right thing to do. She had to go to the enchanted forest and find the voice. She believed it was trying to help her. If she could follow it, she could fix things. She could bring the elements back to Arendelle. And she could help banish the mist from the enchanted forest. Grandpatty, and Anna had paused at Elsa's confidence. Neither had ever seen her so certain of herself before. Grandpappy told Elsa that she had to make sure that she was prepared. The spirits are powerful, and they will challenge you every step of the way, he had said. He had agreed to watch over the people of Arendelle while she and her group journeyed north to the forest. Then he had secretly pulled her sister aside. Anna, he'd said, I am worried for her. We have always feared that Elsa's powers were too much for this world. Now we must pray they are enough. Anna had vowed to stay by Elsa's side no matter what. The clop of Sven's hooves and the turn of the wagon wheels against the ground shook the girls from their thoughts. Elsa turned to face Anna. Are you ready? She asked. Anna took off her mother's scarf and put it deep aside the satchel to keep it safe. Yes, she said. She followed her sister, determined to protect her at any cost. Excuse me. Chapter 2. Kristoff adjusted Sven's harness while Olaf sat excitedly in the back of the wagon, making himself comfortable in a pile of hay. When's the last time we went on a road trip together? He asked. This is exciting, and I've never been to an enchanted forest before, let alone the enchanted forest. It sounds both magical and delightful. How long will it take us to get there? Well, it will probably take us quite a while, Olaf. Oh. Anna said, climbing into That's why I moved inside. The wagon beside him. Our father said the enchanted forest is as north as we can go. She looked over at Elsa and smiled. Remember? Of course I do, said Elsa, sitting down on the other side of Olaf. What little Anna and Elsa knew about the enchanted forest from their father, though they hadn't heard him tell the story since they were children, both girls remembered it well. It had mesmerized them and become one of their most cherished memories. Their father, King Agnar, had always told the story the same way. Far away as north as we can go, once stood an enchanted forest protected by the spirits of air, fire, water, and earth. And there roamed a nomadic people called the Northundral, who replied upon those spirits. Relied upon those spirits, excuse me. It went on about how the spirits of nature lived in harmony with the Northaldra. Once the kingdom of Arendelle was young, its inhabitants had put down roots on the shores of the Arren Fjord. Soon after, the Arendellians met the Northaldra. The Northaldra had seemed to welcome their new neighbors, and as a gift, the Arendellians built a great dam to connect all their lands. By bringing the wide river, the dam created a safe place for the Northaldra and their reindeer to cross. It was a symbol of peace. The spirits of the enchanted forest remained connected, and all was well until the battle. Thoughts of their father's story were interrupted as Kristoff climbed into the front of the wagon and grabbed Sven's reins. "All right," he said. "Everybody ready?" Even though the sun was now barely over the horizon, its light was already reaching across the landscape, dispelling the shadows. Early as it was, Sven took off, pulling the wagon northward. The leaves that had been painted with the morning light decorated everything in bright reds, oranges, and purples. It was another beautiful autumn day. "Who's into trivia?" asked Olaf, settling in. "I am. Okay." As the journey started, he rambled on, sharing facts and theories. Ever since he'd learned to read, he was almost never without a book. "Did you know that bees have an extra stomach? One of them is used to carry around nectar." "Interesting," said Anna, "and sort of disgusting." "I know," said Olaf cheerfully. He continued chatting away. "Did you know that moonbows are just like rainbows, only they use moonlight instead of sunlight? Did you know that many animals use their tails for balance, but also as a blanket? But not Sven. His tail isn't good for balance or a blanket." Sven grunted in disgust. "Oh, buddy, it's okay. Your tail is good for lots of other things," Olaf assured him. It wasn't long before the bright sun was high in the sky, shining down on them. Olaf sighed happily and leaned his head back on his twig arm for a moment, enjoying the feel of the warm sun on his face. "I love my new permafrost," he said. He had been thoroughly enjoying Elsa's newest gift to him, which allowed him plenty of time for lounging in the sunshine. He no longer needed his personal snow flurry to keep him from melting. "Did you know the sun is just a really, really, really big star?" Olaf quickly began shooting out facts again. "Did you know that storm clouds are called cumulonimbus?" He looked up into the sky. "Glad we don't see any of those now." "The thin and wispy ones are called cirrus, and we don't see any of those either. Actually, we don't see any clouds, do we? It is a really nice day." "Huh." "Uh-huh," said Anna, forcing a smile through clenched teeth. Olaf's chattering was starting to make her head ache. "Did you know that water has memory?" said Olaf. "True fact. It's disputed, but true." Olaf continued to rattle on, and by the time they saw Elsa's ice palace, the sun was beginning to set, sparkling against the North Mountain.
Oh, too bad. We don't have time to say hello to Marshmallow and the rest of my little brothers,
said Olaf, sitting up and gazing at the palace. I wonder if they're home.
Is it Wednesday?
I think they're doing book club on Wednesdays now. Or is it the knitting social?
Can't remember.
Olaf turned away from the scenery and re-engaged with his companions in the wagon. Okay, back to trivia. Everyone winced as he continued. Did you know men are 6 times more likely to be struck by lightning? Sorry, Kristoff. He reached out a twig arm and patted Kristoff on the shoulder. Kristoff forced a laugh. I think maybe it's time for the quiet game, he suggested. His cheeks were a little red and his voice sounded mechanical.
Out of all the games that I have tried, that one sounds like it would be my least favorite,
Olaf said brightly. The ice palace disappeared over the ridge behind them. As the little snowman continued.
Did you know gorillas burp when they're happy? Did you know we blink 4 million times a day? And wombats poop squares, and donkeys sink, but mules don't.
Well, I guess if I'm ever in need of knowing whether something's a donkey or a mule, just put it in a puddle. Kristoff couldn't take it anymore. Did you know sleeping quietly on long journeys prevents murderous insanity? Kristoff! There are children present!
That doesn't sound true,
said Olaf with a giggle. Elsa and Anna quickly added, It's true! It's true! Absolutely true.
Huh. Well, you're the grown-ups. You'd know,
said Olaf. Then he yawned and cuddled between the girls, finally ready for a little nap. He soon fell asleep, and Elsa waved her arms, creating a blanket of ice for him. I'm starting to question if this is intended... What age demographic is this intended for? Because I was thinking it was a kid's book, but that line, I feel like maybe it ain't. She made sure to tuck all the edges. I'm tired too, said Elsa. Night had fallen and the motion of the wagon was making her sleepy. Take a rest, said Anna. Here. She pulled their mother's scarf from the satchel and draped it over Elsa, comforting her instantly. Aw, thank you. Elsa happily wrapped the scarf around her body, relaxing beneath it. But Anna didn't feel tired. Once Elsa drifted off to sleep, she began to fret about something else. The villagers. She couldn't help thinking about them, stuck up on the cliffs away from their homes. She knew the trolls would keep them safe, but she wondered how comfortable they would be. However, there were more intimate things to worry about. Trying to push the villagers to the back of her mind. Anna climbed up the front and sat beside Kristoff. They're both asleep, she said. Hope our people are able to sleep. Suddenly her eyes went wide. Oh no. Do you think Mrs. Latham has her medication? And Mr. Hilton is always losing his teeth. Don't worry, said Kristoff. I'm sure whatever they need, Oaken will have it, and overcharge them for it. Anna smiled appreciatively. You know, it's been amazing watching you care for Arendelle. You know, it's been amazing watching you care for Arendelle, Kristoff said, looking over at her with pride and love. I'd do anything for Arendelle, Anna said earnestly. Sven, keep us steady, will ya? Sven gave a supportive grunt, and Kristoff let go of the reins. He hadn't told anybody but Sven yet, but he had a secret. He was planning to ask Aunt Anna to marry him. He had tried once before, but it hadn't worked out. He had even managed to get down on one knee at the castle, and yet, again, Anna had been so concerned about Elsa that she didn't even see him behind her. So he had decided he would patiently wait until the timing felt completely right. And this moment felt just about as right as any. I want to ask you something, said Kristoff, turning toward Anna again. It's about us. Oh no, said Anna with a worried frown. What did I do? Kristoff was surprised by her question. What? I mean, you said it yourself. When it comes to love, I haven't had the best judgment, but I said that? Kristoff interrupted, confused. When I almost married a man I just met, who did turn out to be a murderous lunatic, said Anna. We're using a lot of murdery words here, which is not words that I feel like would be thrown around in a kid's book. Okay. Oh, right. Kristoff agreed. I said that. Kristoff didn't notice as Elsa suddenly sat up, looking around. He reached into his pocket. Well, that's in the past. I'm talking about the future. Kristoff, please, stop, said Elsa. At first he thought she wanted him to stop talking. I can't stop the future, he said. But one look at her face made Kristoff grab the reins and guide Sven to a halt. I hear it, Elsa said. I hear the voice. Chapter 3. Elsa quickly climbed out of the back of the wagon. She walked around a bend in the path and up a hill, marveling at what she saw in the distance. The view was so breathtaking, she wasn't even aware when the rest of the group joined her. The morning sun softly lit the vast open field stretched out below them in the distance. Shimmering mist formed a thick barrier that was impossible to see through. From where they stood, the only evidence of anything beyond the mist was the sight of trees poking out way above it. Their pointed tops reaching toward the sky. The group watched the mist as it rolled and sparkled with billowing lights that Elsa felt were magical. There was no doubt in their minds. They had found the edge of the enchanted forest. It was even more amazing than Anna and Elsa had imagined it would be. As their father had told them when they were children, after the Northuldra had received the gift of the dam from the Eredelians, there'd been a great celebration and a feast in the forest. He had explained. We let down our guard. We were charmed. It felt so mystical, magical, but it was a trick. the Northuldra attacked us. He described how the wonderful celebration of peace turned into something terrible. It was a brutal battle. The king, my father, was lost. He went on to explain that all the fighting between the two groups had infuriated the spirits of nature. Chaos had consumed the forest. A boulder had landed at his feet, pushing him backward, and he'd hit his head on a stone and fallen unconscious. Yet he'd mysteriously managed to escape the forest. A most haunting voice cried out, and someone saved me. The spirits fell silent, and an impenetrable mist enveloped the forest, locking some in, and the rest of us out. Since that day, no one had ever entered or left the forest. As Anna looked at the mist sparkling in the distance, her mind hung on that word, impenetrable, meaning impossible to get through. But they had to get through it if Elsa was going to do the next right thing and find the voice. Elsa suddenly gasped, breaking Anna out of her thoughts. An invisible force seemed to tug at her sister. Anna watched as Elsa quickly hurried over the ridge and down the side of the hill. Anna, Kristoff, Olaf, and Sven hurried after her. Elsa made it to the bottom, and without looking back, the young queen darted across the field. The others struggled to keep up. When they finally did, Elsa was standing a good distance from the edge of the mist, staring at it thoughtfully. Kristoff slowly stepped up to the wall of gray that was keeping them out of the enchanted forest. He held his hand up and touched it lightly, which made it vibrate against his skin. When he pushed his hand into the mist pushed back. Upon seeing this, Olaf's eyes lit up as a wonderful idea popped into his mind. He backed up, ran towards the mist, and jumped against it. He giggled as he bounced off its springy surface. It became a game to him as he ran at it again and again, bouncing off it as if it were a balloon. Still gazing into the mist, Elsa took a deep breath. Then she slowly began to approach it. She paused, reached out, and grabbed Anna's hand. Holding on to her sister, she felt Anna's strength combined with her own. With that comfort, Elsa continued moving. They walked toward the mist, and Kristoff, Sven, and Olaf joined them. The mist sparkled and rolled back a little, revealing the 4 giant stone monoliths towering into the sky. In order to examine them more closely, they would actually have to step into the mist. But there was something about the stones that Elsa recognized. Even at that distance, the symbol on each one: air, fire, water, earth, she said. Anna turned to Elsa. "Promise me we'll do this together," she said. "I promise." They continued their journey with one step, and then another. The mist rolled back a bit more, parting and creating a passageway for them. As they moved forward, they looked around curiously. Walking through the mist was like walking into a dream. When they made it inside the mist, the stones loomed over them. Elsa knew she had been right. The symbols carved into the pillars matched the etchings on the ice crystals she had created in Arendelle. She touched each one. When the glittering ribbons of light appeared, interwoven in the mist, the group's attention moved from the stones. They watched the lights mesmerized as the colors flashed.